This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 441.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. There are no WordCamps, but per request, my friend Daniel Schultzman, Daniel reached out and reminded me about a service that he has. It's called WP Livestream Directory.com, actually WP Livestreams Directory.com, where there's a directory of online events. So there you go. So I looked, there were none this week, and then I realized, well, I stand corrected as I was kind of taking some notes here, because the homepage showed me that there were events on the July 26th, the week of, and now it is not the week of. It's the week, and this episode comes out on the 8th of August. So clicking page 2, I see 2 events this week. So there are 2. There is one called the Basic Principles of Software Architecture, Thursday, August 11th, 3:30 p.m. UTC, and another one, Virtual WordPress Workshop Night, Friday, August 12th, 2 a.m. UTC, which is 10 a.m. Eastern, so 7 a.m. Pacific on Saturday, next, on, I guess, the 13th, yeah. So, anyway, and I was thinking, if I do something live, maybe I'll get listed, too. That would be pretty meta, and, because I keep, thinking maybe I'll go live one of these days. I don't know, it might be neat. Anyway, so there's something for Daniel to fix, possibly, that the homepage of what's coming up is showing me stuff in the past. There you go. Anyway, I hope that helps, Daniel. And thank you for the reminder to share this information as well, because it's important. People should know what's going on out there in the WordPress space. All right. Is that it? That's it for upcoming events. Moving on to In the News, segment 1 here. A couple things here. There is a annual Meetup organizer survey. If you are a Meetup organizer Meetup organizer in the WordPress space, there's a link in the show notes. By all means, that'd be awesome if you took part of that survey. It's in 14 different languages now as well this year, so it's pretty cool. Also in the news, WebP is now going to be default merged into core for WordPress 6.1. So what this means, it's a format developed by Google, which is supposed to replace JPEG and PNG and GIF files. That's right, I said GIF, not GIF. And so there's a conversation going on about it as well over in the make.wordpress, actually in core.track as well. I'll link to that in the show notes, what's going on there, but it's going to be default merged into 6.1, so that's kind of interesting as well. Some people don't want it. Some people think it's not any better. I don't know. My eyesight's not that good. And I can just look at sizes of images, so I just try to keep things small. I use PNGs if I need a transparency. I use JPEG if I really don't, and I go from there. All right, so there's that, and I think that's it for the news. Yeah, that's it for the moment. Segment 2, so this week I want to discuss shutting down a business. Looking back at my back catalog of episodes, I have plenty of episodes about what I call the pivot, niching down, merging, being acquired, adding, maybe bringing in a partner, but I didn't find any things about shutting down a business. And truth be told, I've thought about it before. And some of you have actually asked me offline about my intentions, because I might have had those issues about the ups and downs of running the agency and burnout, that kind of thing. So this is not about shutting down the agency, not at all, really, because the topic comes from the news, which I left out of the top news section. The news being that my good friends over at ServerPress, the makers of Desktop Server, and they had WP Site Sync as well, they are shutting down. 12 years after they started, they will be sorely missed. Greg Franklin is a good dear friend of mine, so is Mark Benzicane, and so is Steven. Got me thinking, what would be the steps to do this the right way? Like, what is the process of shutting businesses down? So I did some research, and I came up with, I believe I have 7 of them here from what I could find online about, generally speaking, what are the steps to do this? And I have some experience here, because I have sort of shut things down in the past. We'll get to that. I think it's step number I don't know, we'll see 5, I think. Anyway, so first and foremost, step 1, create the exit strategy. Now, normally this would be the sale of a business. When we say exit strategy, we want to be acquired, you want to, that kind of thing. In this case, it's not so much that. It's more, now if it's just you, what do you do? What's your exit? How do you close it down? This is easier versus if you're in a partnership or LLC or a corporation like an S Corp. Because if you're in those other 2 or 3 formats, you need to consult with the other owners. And if you're in a corporation, you might have a board of directors. So you need to consult with them as well and figure out what's that strategy look like. And then from there, you move on to the next steps. So that's the first and foremost, first thing you need to do, really. So number 2, notify employers and employees and contractors. Now, this is not going to be fun or easy. Part of that strategy is going to include how you'll manage communication with the employees. And some employees may be contractors. It doesn't matter. If people work for you, they need to know what's going on. Keep in mind also that some states, if not all states, have in detail when you must issue employees' last paychecks. And also, you might need to reimburse them for out-of-pocket expenses. And of course, if you have any company property, cell phones, mobile devices, computers, hotspots, do you get those back or do they get to keep them? We'll talk about that in a second as well. Step 3, now you're going to want to collect or sell outstanding receivables. This is a tough one because once you close your business, it can be much harder to collect anything that's due to you. And what I found online is, and most of the advice is to try to collect before you announce your closing. It's much easier that way. Maybe to give them some incentive to pay up is give a discount if they're paid by a certain date. And also, I'm a firm believer of this. A phone call, a relationship-based phone call can go a long way versus just a letter or an email or hearing it in the rumor mill, okay? So, or seeing something online. Step 4, sell your business assets and potentially cancel subscription services. Now, do you have anything you just don't need anymore? Surplus of equipment, computers, look into selling them. Maybe offer them to employees. But make sure you document it all because, again, you're not sure how this may be dealt with from a tax perspective at the end of a fiscal year, the whole process. So if you're going to give equipment or let employees have it, make sure that they are aware that this may be taxed to them as income because it's an asset. So that's something to consider as well. And also, of course, this is the time you want to list out all the things you pay for the business, the tools, the software, your CRM, your billing, your web hosting, email provider, that type of thing. Do you need to keep those for how long? Just to make sure you have a reminder in 3 to 6 months, whatever it may be, to come back and cancel those things that you're not using anymore. Some can be turned off right away, and some probably can't. Okay. Step 5, file the articles of dissolution. Now, make sure you do this. Each state is going to have different ways to do it. Most of it are online with the Secretary of State. It's not hard, but you need to do it with each state that you have a business name registered with. So I did this once, like I said before. My parent company, LLC, currently was originally created in Colorado. And I checked the state Secretary of State a couple years ago for some reason. I'm not sure why. And it looked like my account, my business was still open there. And I realized I never really shut it down officially, properly, I guess. And it was in some strange status. So to fix it, to bring it into good status, it was $100. To close it was $10. So I chose to close it because I didn't need it there anymore. And I reopened it here in North Carolina. So you want to make sure you file the right articles of dissolution for each state that you have your business registered with. Some have more than one state. Some just have the one state. Just keep that in mind. Step 6, you're going to want to inform your customers and clients. Now, if you have outstanding work for them, I recommend telling them first that their things will be finished. Their projects are going to be done and taken care of. After that, maybe you do a press release. You post on a website, social media. Everything is a viable option here, especially in today's time. But the key is communication is critical during this time. And honestly, it's better to be upfront and honest with your customers and your clients. It really is. Okay. Step 7, submit final payroll forms and taxes, and file taxes as well. Now, depending on the type of company, this is what I found out online as well, that if you're like a sole proprietor versus LLC or an S Corp or C Corp, there are different things to do here. For example, sole proprietor, this is from the IRS website. There is no final return box in Schedule C. You just file by April 15th, the year after you close. In a partnership at LLC and an LLC, if you file the form 1065, you need to check the box final return, and then you need to report profits and losses and distribute it to each partner on a Schedule K1, etc. And for a corporation, there's a checkbox that this is also your final return on the Form 1120. And again, I am not an accountant or a CPA. I don't pretend to be one. Just sharing what I've seen online, things to keep in mind and make sure you look into for your own protections. Okay. Finally, keep records. Everyone has said this. Everything I've read is says keep records for whatever the duration of your state requires. I actually go one step further. I'd suggest one thing more. That would be keep a hard copy, because digital files can go corrupt, can go bad, can be deleted. So there you go. All right. And for the record, and by the way, none of this was discussed. I didn't talk to anyone over at ServerPress. Mark was on the podcast many years ago. Maybe I'll bring them back when they're all said and done. And how they manage this, how do they manage the process, and maybe we'll get some insight about it from them going through it, because they've had this business as a company for 12 years. So anyway, I mean, it's one of those things that sometimes, more often than not, businesses finally, sometimes, often close. It happens, right? That don't get sold and that aren't acquired. Businesses do shut down. Okay, so there you have it. Again, I'm not shutting down Concierge anytime soon, at least not this week or next week. No, I'm kidding. It's not in the near future that I can see, but you never know. Things change all the time, right? All right. So moving on to segment 3, the tip and tool of the week. This week is a book. It's a book by Maddy Osman. Maddy, I actually interviewed way back on episode 114. It's been a while. She has a new book. It's called Writing for Humans and Robots. I have not read it, but I want to. Quote from the description. In this book, style guide reference, you'll learn how to balance optimizing for search engines while appealing to human readers. Pretty cool. So I'll put a link to the show notes. It's on Amazon. And there you go. So check out her book, which is called, once again, Writing for Humans and Robots, if you're interested in that, and for content creators. Okay, that's it. Let me wrap it up here. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@KitchensinkWP.com, or use that speak pipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, I would love to have your help over on Patreon. You can also sponsor the podcast. There's a form on the website. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right, bye-bye.